Most people do not fail because they lack strength. They fail because they lack structure. The mind drifts, the body hesitates, and discipline dissolves under comfort. Yet centuries ago, men who walked daily toward death understood something we have forgotten. Mastery is not an act of intensity, but an act of repetition. The sword was not forged in battle. It was forged in the quiet, relentless return to the same motion, again and again.
In feudal Japan, the path of the warrior was governed not only by courage, but by refinement. The code of Bushido demanded honor and loyalty, but beneath it lived a quieter force, constant improvement. This principle would later be known as Kaizen, the discipline of becoming slightly better each day. And no figure embodied this more completely than Miyamoto Musashi, the undefeated swordsman who treated mastery not as talent, but as a daily ritual.
Chapter 1. The Illusion of Sudden Strength. Kenji believed he needed a breakthrough. At 35, he felt behind in life, behind in skill, behind in discipline. He consumed books, watched lectures, and waited for a moment of clarity that would change everything. Yet each attempt at transformation burned brightly and disappeared just as quickly. His problem was not ignorance, it was inconsistency.
Musashi once wrote in the Book of Five Rings that the way is in training. Not in thinking about training, not in discussing it, but in the physical repetition of it. Kenji began to see that he was chasing intensity instead of structure. He wanted the feeling of transformation without submitting to its monotony. The sword, however, does not respect emotion. It respects repetition.
Chapter 2. The Discipline of the Sword. In traditional sword schools, students repeated the same cut thousands of times. There were no dramatic flourishes, no applause, no visible progress for months. The movement was corrected by millimeters, the grip adjusted by degrees, the breath aligned with the strike until body and intention became one. This was Kaizen in its purest form. Improvement so small it was almost invisible, yet so consistent it became unstoppable. The warrior did not aim to defeat others first. He aimed to eliminate inefficiency within himself. Each unnecessary movement was removed, each weakness exposed without complaint. Kenji chose one practice, not 10, not 5. 1. Every morning before work, he would wake and sit in silence for 10 minutes. No phone, no music, just posture and breath. It felt insignificant. It felt almost foolish. But he committed to it as if it were sword training. Chapter 3. Elimination before addition. Zen discipline teaches that mastery begins with subtraction. Before adding skill, remove distraction. Before increasing speed, remove hesitation. Before seeking purpose, remove noise. The samurai did not clutter his life with excess decisions. His identity was simple. He trained. Kenji began eliminating instead of adding. He removed late-night scrolling. He stopped switching between goals. He stopped announcing plans to others.
Each removal felt like loss at first, yet in that emptiness, something solid began to form. His mornings became steady, his thoughts less scattered. This is the hidden edge of Kaizen. It is not about doing more, it is about refining what remains. The blade becomes sharp not by growing larger, but by removing steel.
Chapter 4: The Quiet Resistance. After 3 weeks, boredom arrived. The silence felt repetitive, the progress invisible. A familiar voice whispered that this small act could not possibly change a life. This is the moment most people abandon the way. They confuse lack of excitement with lack of growth. But in Bushido, endurance is sacred. The warrior continues not because he feels inspired, but because he has chosen the path. Kenji stayed seated each morning, even when his mind resisted, especially when it resisted. He began to understand that the training was not the silence itself, but his refusal to break the ritual.
Over months, subtle changes appeared. His reactions at work slowed. He listened longer before speaking. When criticized, he did not flare with immediate defense. Like a swordsman waiting for the precise opening, he allowed moments to unfold before responding. The practice of stillness had sharpened his perception.
Chapter 5: Identity Forged Through Repetition. Musashi fought over 60 duels and remained undefeated, yet he attributed his strength to relentless training and observation. He studied not only opponents, but his own weaknesses. He refined his stance, his timing, his mindset. He did not rely on yesterday's victory. Each day required practice. Kenji realized that discipline is not something you perform, it is something you become. By repeating one small act daily, he no longer saw himself as someone trying to improve. He saw himself as someone who trains. Identity shifted quietly, without announcement. This is the deeper layer of Kaizen. Small actions accumulate, but more importantly, they carve the self. The warrior does not wake up powerful. He wakes up and practices power in small, non-negotiable ways. Chapter 6: The Modern Battlefield. Today, the battlefield is not lined with swords, but with distractions. Attention is fractured. Comfort is immediate. The enemy is not an opposing blade, but internal weakness. The ancient principles remain unchanged. Structure defeats chaos. Repetition defeats doubt. Kenji extended his discipline beyond the morning silence. He applied the same method to his physical training, to his work, to his speech. Nothing dramatic, no sudden reinvention, only slight improvements maintained without interruption. When he failed, he returned the next day without self-punishment. The return itself was victory. Over time, others noticed a difference they could not explain. He seemed calm under pressure. His words carried weight because he did not waste them. Like a blade sharpened daily, his presence felt refined rather than forceful. Conclusion: the relentless art of refinement. The samurai understood a truth we resist. Greatness is not an event. It is maintenance.
It is the quiet polishing of the sword long after others have grown tired. It is choosing structure over mood, repetition over intensity, subtraction over excess.
Kaizen is not dramatic. It does not promise sudden enlightenment. It promises something far more demanding: daily return. In that return, identity hardens. In that repetition, fear softens. In that quiet discipline, the ordinary life becomes formidable. The sword is sharpened slowly. So is the self. And those who commit to the smallest refinements, without applause or urgency, eventually discover that they no longer seek transformation. They have become it.